Hey guys. Hello. That probably wasn't the best cut there, but I am once again here with someone else to interview, and this time the video should hopefully be focused and working and show our beautiful faces. But this is none other than Nice Username, aka Joey. That's right. I call him Nice Username, not Joey. But for the interest of people who don't really know a lot about you, could you explain briefly what you do/did in Starcraft?
Yeah, so I have just put a lot of volunteer work into StarCraft 2, be it videos for people to use on their live stream, or modding, or just making highlight videos for like a tournament, etc., etc. The list really goes on and on. I just put a lot of volunteer work into SC2 and posting a lot on Reddit. So I think people will recognize me from probably Reddit mostly. I don't know where else, maybe Twitter, but probably just Reddit.
Yeah, you get some credit with various mods that you've done for the community.
Yeah. And I used to work for SC2HL, which was like a pretty established YouTube channel for like almost 3 years, like 2.5 years closer. So yeah, I've just kind of been all over, mostly making stuff I think people will like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you told me just before we started this interview that he's never been interviewed before, so we're going to do like the whole shebang, right? So tell me a little bit about how you got into StarCraft 2 and why you are still a fan, still in the scene.
Ooh, I could go on and on and on. StarCraft 2 specifically, so I pre-ordered Wings of Liberty the moment I saw that video announcing it was coming out.
Because you were into Brood War?
Yeah, I love Brood War.
Okay.
Love Brood War since I was maybe 11 or 12. When I first saw someone playing Brood War at it wasn't a PC cafe, but it was like a rec center where people would go work out.
Yeah.
And at the rec center, they also had like some video game stuff for kids. Parents come work out and they drop off the kids to play games. So I first saw some guy playing Brood War at this, I'm watching over his shoulder at a rec center. And I thought the game was so good, I wanted to steal it. And I'm 11, I'm like a 10-year-old kid. And I was like, I have to have this. I have to have, I wanted to steal it. It was that good. And since then, since I was 11, I've just loved StarCraft.
Okay.
Brood War and SC2.
I think a lot of people started off with Brood War, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
the
It was
family
so
played
good.
it.
It was so good.
Yeah, so you bought StarCraft 2 upon release.
Oh, I pre-ordered, yeah?
Yeah. What were your expectations? Were you disappointed, like some of the other Brood War, lead us a little bit, or
well,
were you just like,
as
oh, this
far
is great
as
too?
so 1v1 and RTS, that whole concept didn't click with me, especially the competitive side of the game. Esports didn't exist to me until StarCraft 2. Someone had linked me a Pimpus Plays video in 2000, I don't know, 4 or 3. I'm really young in middle school, and I'm watching this Pimpus Plays video, and I'm like, damn, these guys are fast. And this was basically an esports highlight reel way back in 03 or 04, and I'm like, oh man, look how fast he is. Oh, he's doing that little trick where he hops his vulture over a forge because the pathing glitches out, and I was like, oh, I know that trick. So as much as I watched that and I thought it was really cool, I didn't get it. I didn't get the competitive side of the game. I always like UMS. I always like the glitches in the game and the map editor. So just the game engine itself in Brood War was really cool to me, and the fact that it was so not buggy, but sort of quirky. It had these really interesting things you could do in the map editor.
Okay, so sorry, by the way, I had to adjust the volume a little bit.
Sure.
But so that's very telling though, as someone who knows you, you explaining the beginning of your StarCraft story, because you are someone who does a lot of modding.
Yeah.
You actually make complete mods of kind of new versions of the game. You do a lot of map intros, right? So you help out with people a lot.
So from the day I bought Wings, from the day I installed Wings of Liberty, I opened it, and the first thing I did is I went to custom games. I didn't care about 1v1. I didn't care about campaign. I did. But in Brood War, and for so many years, and everything about Brood War I loved was the map editor, the map editing community, and UMS. Mm-hmm. Just because, it's amazing how creative people are making their own games out of another game, blah, blah, blah. And just the game design aspect of it was so interesting to me. And I opened up StarCraft 2, and it hurt me physically. When you open it up and you've been waiting, and StarCraft 2 was just a rumor, and it's actually real, and it's actually coming out, and you open it, and the lobbies and the arcade sucked. It sucked. It was bad. It was so bad. Like I
I'm
can't
not
tell you how
denying.
disappointing. It was so disappointing.
Yeah.
Like my heart just sank opening up that custom section of StarCraft 2 because it was obvious. It was an afterthought. It was just obvious, and maybe afterthought's a little harsh. Obviously, a lot of work goes into a system like that, but their main goal was 1v1. More so than I think their goal, or it just wasn't pushed as hard in Brood War. 1v1 is like this little button that says ladder, and no one clicked it in Brood War. In StarCraft 2, it's like this huge, shiny border, and you got your big rank logo, and like, and that was cool, and like God bless them for pushing RTS so much and pushing 1v1, because I wouldn't have got into competitive gaming or cared about the esports scene and all that. But it did trade my I don't want to say passion, but like my care for the modding stuff was set aside for years, and I regret it so much that I didn't mess with the editor, and I didn't care about that, and I cared more about RTS.
Yeah.
With StarCraft 2.
So, of course, I knew really, like, a lot of custom games and the, map maker community from Warcraft. Like, I wasn't really into Warcraft,
Warcraft 3?
Yeah, Warcraft 3, but I played,
really
like, a ton
good
of...
scene.
Yeah, I played a ton of the arcade games and not much of the 1v1, the team games. So, that's the only indication. Like, I was playing StarCraft 1 on a 64, not even Brood War. So,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of people were into that. But anyways, so StarCraft 2 is released, as you said. Like, it's obviously not really about the arcade or the custom games, and they've improved certainly.
And there's so much hype, like going, in the game coming out, I was like, oh my god, StarCraft 2 is here.
Yeah.
So going into that and then getting disappointed, it hurt.
So, okay, but here's my question, right? So I think, there was a big emphasis on the esports. Like, StarCraft 2, as much as I dislike games that say, like, it's going to be a next esport, I don't think that's really the best way to make an esport.
Yeah.
You make a good game, and then, but regardless.
Naturally.
StarCraft 2 actually was designed to be an esport, and it's, I think, one of the more successful ones that was designed to be an esport. But,
no doubt.
But really, a lot of people played Brood War or Warcraft because of their arcade experience. People in PC bongs weren't necessarily playing 1v1; they were playing team games and like fastest map possible and stuff like that. So, do you think that Blizzard was like out of touch with that aspect, or do you think that they just really, really wanted to push esports?
It's hard to say, like I don't know if they were out of touch, if they were just blind to it, because it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe they were just blind to the scene. But I mean, it does seem pretty clear that they were more interested in 1v1. They were more interested in the game that they made. Like they made a game and it was good and it was amazing. And UMS and custom games and Tower D and all this stuff. This was just it was something else. It's not what they made.
Some other guy.
Right? Yeah, it was not their game. So I can see why, they would push 1v1 and it had more emphasis and it was sort of like this whole thing that I didn't explore. I remember being linked to Team Liquid in 2002, 2003, I was really young. I'm like 11, 12. And I click through it and I'm reading these threads and I'm like, oh, this is all about 1v1. Like, I don't care. I just didn't care. I remember browsing Team Liquid and be like, this is boring. So, to this day, I don't really browse TL too much because from a young age, I cared more about the site I was always frequenting was called staredit.net.
Okay.
Staredit is the name of the map editor in Brood War. So, I always came in with this sort of different mentality for the game, but with SC2, I found this whole competitive side. Or I didn't, RTS in general didn't make sense until I played some StarCraft 2 and I was like, I want to be good, I want to win. And then it all clicked and this whole other world opened up to me.
Yeah, I think that was a lot of people's experience. StarCraft 2 was one of the original proponents of esports as we know it, as Westerners, I guess, as non-Koreans.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that but your perspective is still so different because I played Warcraft, I played the custom games, and when I got StarCraft 2, I wanted to be the best at 1v1. I actually have not really played a lot of arcade, but I loved arcade back in the day. I mean, do you think that's just I'm gonna putting about me for a moment because I know there's a lot of other people like this. Do you think that was the failure of the arcade in the beginning years of StarCraft?
I mean, there was certainly failure with the arcade. With the release on Wings, massive.
Do you think that it would have had a stronger player base more consistently? Because now it's still a very strong player base.
Yeah.
Let's like get that clear,
Arcade
right?
has players, no doubt.
But would it have been stronger if they could casually go back to their arcade games instead of feeling this pressure to only play the 1v1s?
That's a really good question. It's like, who could really know? You know, like, who knows if
True.
They killed it with the UMS scene on Starcraft 2 release? It's hard to say. I don't know when League of Legends exactly released, but like a bunch of free-to-play games. Again, these customs in StarCraft were free, even though you had to buy StarCraft. There was a lot of free content coming out that sort of put these custom games, you know, they were competing with the custom games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's just so many variables to consider, but overall, in general, I'd say, yeah, like they screwed up with the release of Arcade, and it's obvious because they put a ton into it. Like, it's so much better now. It's so much better. If you go back and look, I don't even know how you would do it, but if you could somehow see what the Arcade looked like in 2010 in July, like, it's sad. And I think they realized that too. I think Blizzard realized, like, we could do a little better here. And there's a lot of people, especially with the release of paid arcade maps, this is just coming out in like the past month, and the game is like maybe 7 or 8 years old. And
yeah, it took a long time.
Yeah, a couple months. It happened a couple months. I don't know. But, you know, with paid arcade coming out, you see a lot of comments, people saying, oh, you know, maybe too little, too late. And that's sort of how I feel about the whole arcade push, even back in Heart of the Swarm, where I was like, oh, this is amazing, and I'm so happy they're doing it, but I wish it was always this way.
Yeah,
you know? And it's sort of like an entitled, way of thinking, but that's how I feel. I wish it was always that way.
I mean, that's good, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting a little tired, so hopefully this works too, guys.
Right.
But so, all right. Let's pinpoint your progress, I guess, as Joey Nice username. So you say, like, we're talking about how, like, it was disappointment, but that was the first thing that you were interested in. What kept you, like, passionate about it throughout the years, basically? Like, with arcade, with the map editor being so difficult, did you think that it was a challenge that actually, like, bettered you as a person? 'Cause my understanding, you know, like, correct me if I'm wrong, was that the StarCraft 2 editor was much, much more powerful than anything happened before, right? But it was also much more difficult to use.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's not a great thing compared to what people were doing when they were like 12 years old and able to experiment. But do you think that has helped you, like, right now? I know you do a lot of different jobs, and we'll get into that in a moment.
Sure.
But do you think that, like, pushing past the difficulty and learning it and being kind of the go-to guy for the customs basically helped you as a person, or do you contribute a lot of you staying in StarCraft due to the community? Is it both? Is it one or the other?
Yeah, it's definitely multiple. Like, it's both.
Okay.
It's so many factors, but one, I definitely have so much regret over being intimidated by the map editor. It was intimidating. You open it up and the interface is just, it doesn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense.
Okay.
The interface is difficult to wrap your head around. And I went from Brood War to StarCraft 2. I didn't play Warcraft 3. The Warcraft 3 editor was a nice middle ground.
I heard it was the best.
It was, yeah. Well, first of all, Warcraft 3 had a terrific custom scene, maybe the best. Mm-hmm. I can't be, like, so certain because I didn't play as much Warcraft 3. I did play a ton of Brood War. So I just can't say. But I went from Brood War to StarCraft 2, and this is like 10 years. This is a lot of technology itself has gotten better.
Yeah.
A lot better.
Of course.
So I knew it was going to be more difficult, but not like I just saw it and I was intimidated and I thought, after this, I'm going to enjoy campaign or whatever.
Okay.
Enjoy my nice Rainer, cinematics or whatever. And then I found GSL. Someone linked me Day 9, someone linked me GSL, and then forget the map editor. I loved esports for years. I put off the map editor and I got so caught up in esports, but I think like a major factor for me in being able to stand out a little bit and sort of differentiate myself is combining the two. is using the map editor to make like esports related content, using the map editor to show balance changes, using the map editor to show whatever, to make satire, make some parody videos or whatever. That is major for me, and so I hold a ton of regret not diving in 2010, because I could have. I could have the way I did years later.
I guess with that in mind, do you consider yourself one of the most knowledgeable people about the editor? No. Okay, so
No
name some
way.
names. You know, I
Yeah.
know I met some guys at the summit that seem to be very, like, you seem to respect them quite a bit. So name some names.
Yeah, I am fortunate enough to be like recognized as someone who does modding, and people will come to me with editor questions, and that's amazing, and I'm so happy about that. But like, I am pretty average at best.
Really?
Yeah. Well, the editor is so deep. It's so deep. And there's all these different modules. So you have a data module and a trigger module. And so like, I'm really good at triggers, which is sort of related to scripting and like programming, say like JavaScript or something.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it. So I'm good at doing this one part of the editor, and my other friends are doing all of them, or like they're good at many parts of the editor, and I'm good at like this one narrow set. Like, it's difficult to describe, but I know some extremely talented people who all these years that I spent playing RTS and learning how to click good and micro fast, and like all these years I spent honing these skills, they were spending their time learning the way the game engine itself is working, how the clever staff at Blizzard made the game engine itself like tick, and like that shit is so interesting to me, so I wish I knew as much as they do. And like, also the map making community has a very everyone's so helpful. Like, there's no documentation for the editor. There's no help. There's no way to learn except trial and error. Or another great way is you open up Blizzard's maps and you see what Blizzard did. Or you look at how did Blizzard make the Vikings shoot like this or that or whatever, and you can learn like that. So because everyone has to teach themselves, everyone's very helpful. There's the map editor, and this is sort of as in Brood War 2. Everyone's very supportive and everyone's very helpful, and so I like to continue to do that. If you ever have a question about the editor, I'm happy to help as much as I can. I think the map editing community in both Brood War and SC2 are some of the best people, just the best. Like truly smart people. They know how the game engine works on like a technical level more than any like pro gamer, because pro gamers don't have to care about, like, they're two different things. Pro gaming and the technicalities of like the code of the game or whatever, like how the editor ticks and everything. But these people are smart and they work really hard, and that's why I respect them as much as I do some of these pro players, because they're all so smart and they also work their ass off, and I see some parallels there.
Yeah, of course. I think there's a lot of good things to say about Starcraft community. It's kind of been a theme of these interviews is no one has really anything negative to say. Maybe I'll try and draw out some drama from some people, but extremely helpful people. So gonna slice it here, but we'll keep on going right after this little weird break for you guys. All right, so sorry about that, guys. Had to figure out a new fashion way to extend that lifespan, but we'll make do. Anyways, we were having a good conversation about just how many people there are that are doing community map making, as well as just playing around with the editor. There's just a ton of smart people, and there certainly are. But you made a good point. Well, a little bit off camera, but you're talking about how you just happen to kind of like combine both the esports and the knowledge of the editor so that most people know you. If someone was like, do you guys know someone who likes the editor and knows something about it, it'd be like, oh, talk to Joey. So kind of elaborate, as you did just before, on why you think that is, and is it a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think these guys deserve more credit? Do you think that they're happy doing what they do? Or?
Well, I do think some of the people in the map making scene could deserve a bit more love, just in the sense that like they just work so hard for nothing, and people will never know that they did anything because it just doesn't get like attention. I don't know,
Yeah,
like,
of course. I mean, everyone wants attention. The whole, like,
Sure,
do you think they're
sure.
happy was maybe a bit of an asshole question, but...
There and like I'm generalizing a bit too much. There have been some mods with a lot of popularity. Like some guy did the Diablo mod just the other month, and it turned a lot of heads. This guy's pulling like 200, 300,000 views on YouTube for a mod, which is sick. So I'm not trying to say that like they're completely ignored, but what I was talking about earlier is like there's a huge disconnect between the esports 1v1 people and the modding arcade map editor people, and there's so much to benefit from like mixing those crowds. Like, so I was saying, I think I'm able to stand out a bit by using the editor to showcase 1v1 content. So like I'll implement a balance change that Blizzard announced in the editor and show it off before it goes in, and people are like, oh damn, that's sick. It's nice to look at this visually, clicking on a post without having to go in a game myself or whatever. People can discuss it, they can see it, and it's not just a number on a balance post or whatever. That's one example of me combining the two, and I think that like there's so much more you could do. So much. The editor is truly a powerful tool, much more so than in Brood War. In Brood War, it was like a tenth of the
power
or like capability. It wasn't even close to as capable to the point that in Brood War the standard map editor was not made by Blizzard. There was a tool called there's a volunteer guy, and he made his own map editor. He reverse engineered
that makes sense
everything about it, and like he figured out the file formats and everything, and it's called SCM Draft 2. And I know he's been in contact with Blizzard because his map editor is so damn good, and it's like way better than the Brood War editor. It allowed a lot of these maps that people like playing on Brood War were made with SCM Draft 2, not Blizzard's staredit.exe. And I don't know, like just from a young age, these people who were volunteering and making their own tools and making their own thing, like it really inspired me from a young age to be like dude, you can make stuff
from this like game that we all
play.
It's really cool, but it kind of ties into like so before I go into this, like what do you do right now?
Right now, I recently moved to Philadelphia to work at a school.
Okay.
And I'm just their IT guy. I do some video editing, which I kind of like. Like my hobby, video editing, landed me a video editing job. It's a private school for autistic teenagers and young adults. Yeah, so they're all autistic, and it's really easy to make jokes about the Starcraft fans and how they trained me to work at the school. And
oh my God.
I know, it's pretty bad. But everyone makes that joke whenever I talk about it. And I actually don't work with the students a whole lot. I'm just their IT guy. I make videos for the parents about their children who come to the school, and do general IT stuff. I'm also doing some programming.
Right. So my question was kind of tying in. So you talk about these guys that you knew were doing such great things with the editor. Some of these guys ended up either being in contact with Blizzard or legitimately getting hired by Blizzard. And this happens a lot, I feel, in not just esports, but like any community-driven part of a game, where you'll hear these stories about these people that 20 years ago they were just fans hosting a website, and then they ended up being the social media manager or something.
Yeah, they grow up and they still love it.
Yeah, but they get these dream jobs of things that were just a hobby. So for you, when you finally got really into it, was that a goal for you? Did you consider it kind of like the highest honor, I suppose, if you were actually contacted, or was it more like...
So let me say for sure, I've already been honored hugely by Blizzard. Blizzard has been amazing to me, and in particular, just one or two of their staff maybe took a liking to one of the video series or a video I made, and they would work with me. So Blizzard has been nothing but amazing to me, and like I can't emphasize this enough, that Blizzard really pays attention to the community members. They read everything, every single post.
Everyone's gonna go to these interviews and just be like, ZombieGrub paid all these people. Like, she's actually a Blizzard show.
Yeah, I know. I know it sounds weird because I was that. I was a fan too. Who like Blizzard is this invisible, like faceless corporation, and they never say anything. And for Brood War, that was kind of the case. Like we had one balance patch ever, maybe 2 balance patches ever, and you know, they're just a little more distant. But Blizzard's been great to me. What was the second part of your question?
Was basically like, did you, when you were doing all this, when you thought you were getting pretty good at it, did you want to be hired by Blizzard?
Well, Blizzard is a dream job, no doubt. No doubt, I would love to work for them. But it stems from even a further back feeling where I was 12 or 13 and I'm making my UMS game, I'm making my tower defense, I'm making my bound, like if you remember the Zergling bound maps, I'm making my UMS map and I want people to play it because I knew in Brood War, you host a lobby, 8 people join like immediately. In Brood War, like no matter what, it could be anything. People are down to play what you're hosting. In Brood War, more or less, like people are curious. And I felt good enough at the map editor, like I can make something good. And I'm like 12, you know, I'm 13. It wasn't very good. I never ever made a finished map for one in Brood War. And I never made a map that caught on, which was my real goal, was to have people
obviously
something I made.
The most famous one is Dota, right? Like some guy made Dota, and then
Dota comes from UMS. Yeah.
I think I imagine a lot of people who were like you, that was one of their success stories.
Yeah, it's almost, I think it can be argued that tower defense itself, like the whole genre of tower defense.
I love tower defense. That was my jam.
It's amazing. It's so good. And I don't know if it was maybe Warcraft 2, where I'm pretty sure like Brood War UMS absolutely had something to do with that stuff taking hold.
Yeah, of course. So would you say that, you really want to make an impact on this growing community?
Since I was 12, 11, 13, like whenever I first picked up Brood War and I saw that people are interested in custom content, I wanted to be a creator since I was so young. And I didn't find out how to really like make things that people would have any interest in until I was, 19 or 20.
Yeah.
It took a long time and a bit of experience with Photoshop and whatever tools, software, to have that sort of feeling that people are in the Starcraft scene are liking stuff I'm making, be it a map, be it a post, be it text.
So, all right. So I think as you said, like everyone kind of wants a job at Blizzard.
Sure.
It's one of those things where if you're a Blizzard fan person, then you usually want to, but it doesn't happen, or maybe it'll happen in the future. We never know. But but how do you think that getting into the mapping, the editor, just in general, affected your life? I mean, did that influence your interest in programming?
It changed my whole. Yeah, it did. It got me into programming. It changed my whole. Like I can't emphasize how much the game is important to me in the sense that like. I found community from a young age. I'm talking Brood War too. Like at a young age, I found community. At a young age, I got an interest in computer science and programming. It taught me how to type. I could not type on a keyboard until I typed "Show me the money." Show SH. Oh, like I'm dead serious.
No, that's a good point.
Starcraft taught me how to type. It taught me to love computer science. Like I could go on and on and on about how this Brood War specifically impacted me. And then that continued with SC2 and me enjoying competitive gaming, the pro scene, the just scene in general for SC2, like the community in SC2. Like I liked the Brood War community, but just UMS and just the map makers. Growing up now SC2, like I'm pretty much everything about it is interesting to me.
It's amazing. Yeah. I think that's a lot of people, but you just, again, like you come from such a small, like, not quite like niche, but like kind of.
It's not like the same. I don't think map making has the same mass appeal as campaign.
Yeah, tons of people want to be pro gamers, they want to be pro casters, they want to be the famous guys, and like you get like the map makers, the guy that go into the UI, the arcade games.
Yeah.
Like, they're kind of shoot. I had the NFL analogy all ready to go, and I just forgot it. Not the linebacker, the lineman. There we go. The linemen of Starcraft, where they are an important role, but they don't ever get really a lot of credit or a lot of popularity.
I think this goes back to what I was saying, how there's such a disconnect between 1v1 and the arcade. It seems like in general, the average layman or like your average fan in Starcraft is interested in 1v1 and they're interested in RTS. and like that just seems to be the main focus.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's like, co-op has supposedly more players monthly than more people. Like there's this huge casual fan base that's sort of like silent, or you just don't hear from them, or like I just think there's so many more people to be reached beyond 1v1.
That's true.
But going back to what you were saying is like my main motivation has just been for like I was saying, just for people to enjoy something I made. And it started out with like just like a UMS map, but it grew into like a text post or I made a funny meme about some player, whatever. But I definitely grew up wanting satisfaction from StarCraft fans. Like
Yeah, a lot of people want that, but it's affected your life, in a big way.
Tremendously. I could go on and
your
on.
career.
I could talk for hours.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
A lot of people can. So, but let's hone in a little bit. So you keep talking about these other guys that like are so much smarter. Like there's so many great people in the community. You recently started interviewing people that are part of the community.
Yeah, and I will be talking to some modders as well. So if anyone hasn't watched the videos, it's all been esports stuff.
Right. So it's called Incoming Transmission, and you guys should check it out. Right?
Yeah.
I didn't get that wrong. Right?
YouTube.com/NiceYT channel is my YouTube channel. I have been interviewing people similar to this, just asking them about how they got into StarCraft, why, blah, 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 and it's about an hour and a half.
So why did you start doing that?
Why did I start the interviews? That's a good question.
Did you again want to do that, like I want to give something to the community and have people like the content I produce? Was it a genuine interest in the people that you were interviewing? Was it?
There's a lot of reasons, to be totally candid with you. There's some of them are selfish, some of them are just not very good reasons, but I'll tell them to you. One thing, it's kind of hard to say, but basically, I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of presence. Like my face is not on the internet. I don't put myself out on the internet. My screen name might be, some of the work I might be,
Yeah.
But me, like I'm not out there, so I wanted to put myself out there a bit more.
Okay.
I really liked JP's Real Talk interview series, which is years old, like 5 or 6 years old at this point. And because they're so outdated, I figured why not, catch up with some of these people that he did have on his series that I enjoyed so much. And I just thought it was so good that I was like, we need more of this. And I'd wanted to do the talk show thing. I'd wanted to do long form stuff for a while. It's just a mixture of so many reasons. Another one I wanted to point out, this is the selfish reason, is like people didn't really reach out to me to talk to me, really, like we're doing now. Like this is the first time someone's ever done that. I actually I post a lot on Reddit, and I like to be neutral. I don't take part in drama as much as I can and stuff, but like I have a lot of fucking opinions, and like I have a lot of like really strong opinions about the game, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Just like anyone else. And I don't express them much, so I feel like another way for me to do that was with the talk show.
That's legit. Yeah.
Yeah. So like through my questions, I could slide in a little
Kinda
opinion.
Get your own opinion.
Yeah.
That's totally fine, man. So what so far has been the most interesting incoming transmission?
Interview? Oh man, this is gonna sound cliche and hard to believe, but like truly, every single one I've done has gotten better.
I love you all equally.
No. It's even worse. Like I like every one I do more than the last one, because I either feel like I'm getting more comfortable, or I'm having a guest that I think is more relatable to the general SC2 fan. Like for example, who was some of the, like early on I had Sal come on. And Sal is not as recognizable a name as, say, Roddy, who I had on last week, right? So I'm getting into more known SC2 figures, which I think helps. And kind of forgot the original question. What was the best?
What was the best
This
one?
one?
Which you answered. You couldn't choose.
Whatever the newest one is,
Oh,
which
okay.
would be Roddy.
All right.
I also really liked my interview with Sal. I brought him up earlier just because I spent so long on his preparation. I spent so long asking other friends of Sal's, like, what should I ask him? What should I ask him? And
Wow.
because I put so much effort into his questionnaire, I think it showed in the actual interview. It was over 2 hours, and usually they're like one.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it just showed me that the more I prep, the better the result.
Yeah, that's definitely good. So, from the same line, who do you want to interview the most?
Oh my God, there's so many.
Anyone in the history of StarCraft.
I literally want to talk to everyone. So like, if I had to pick,
Also assuming that you could speak Korean.
I was gonna say like, if I had to pick ideal, like God tier interview, I think it's easy choice as Boxer, because he
Yeah,
the guy
so-
invented
so
so
that's
much of like what we consider to be good
easy.
play. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
well,
even to be like competitive. Yeah.
I mean, I could elaborate on why Boxer's a fantastic pick, but I agree with you.
He's a goddamn like the guy
It is.
invented.
He invented a lot
Micro.
of things, actually. Yeah, he invented micro. He invented. He invented so many. Like, he literally made so many teams. He made a team that allowed people who went to military service to continue playing Brood War, which many still do today. And I mean, he literally broke the game and caused Kespa to have different rules. Like
Yeah,
like the GGG is because of him. You can
Yeah.
only type GGG.
He
was
was
him,
brilliant.
that was-
He's ahead of his time, way ahead of his time. And
And
if I
he
could
was-
speak Korean, I would be him.
Yeah, that I think I agree. That would be my
Just
perfect one as well.
there's no doubt. Him or like Flash, but Flash is like more modern.
Yeah,
whereas
exactly.
Boxer,
He gets a couple interviews every time he wins something.
yeah, exactly. Like he's been interviewed, and I know Boxer has too. But like if I could do it,
Pretty old.
yeah.
So I absolutely agree.
The Pimpus Plays video I talked about earlier from like 2003 or 2002 or whatever, those were Boxer plays. Like I remember seeing his name and like Boxer's Vultures, Boxer this, Boxer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that video. I watched him one. Boxer's command center micro against interceptors.
Oh man.
His tank micro, his dropshot. Like yeah, it was also
If I had
good,
to
so.
pick a non-Korean though.
Okay, yeah. Pick when someone like from here
Oh,
right
this
now.
is so hard to say. Ow, it actually like physically pains me to say this, but it would be Total Biscuit.
Okay.
This is within like, I think it's maybe been less than 2 weeks since his passing, and
like a week.
it's like really fucked me up personally. I got to work with him a little bit on a modding project, which he paid
Yes,
us all the developers a lot for.
Mhm.
And just like it sucks. I have so much I'd love to talk to him about, and I can't. So Total Biscuit is one. Goddamn genius, that guy. Who else? Like it's tough to say. Artosis maybe, but I feel like that's actually like a feasible thing. Like I could probably get him to talk to me.
Mhm.
So it doesn't seem like some lofty, like, oh, I'd love to have him on.
Doesn't have to be. Just
Yeah. But I would love to have Artosis on. So him and like TB. I'm trying to think of anyone else who like really inspired me over the years. But those would be the two big ones. Those guys really made an impression on me.
Yeah, that's it's gonna be consistent, I think. Everyone who still was in esports or StarCraft 2 is usually a very interesting figure, anyways.
Smart people. I found them all to be very smart.
They're all smart. They're kind. They all got here on like pure passion and fuel, so
Yeah.
that makes their lives very interesting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. There's actually so many people to interview, but
Yeah, I would, yeah. Like I said, I'd love to talk to everybody because I think everyone has a really, more or less, everyone has an interesting story to tell. At least people who have like made some kind of wave in the scene, like be it some guy who made a popular arcade game or someone who had a like popular stream. I don't know. Like there's so many ways to make an impact in SC2, and I think there's so many people, not just SC2, Brood War as well. But there's just so many people.
yeah. Well, I think we went over a lot of time on the video, so this is probably only an audio transcript now. But
Sorry.
no, it's no problem. I think you're definitely an interesting guy. I hope that you get interviewed like more often.
Thanks.
So
Maybe after this.
yeah.
Maybe this will be the the interview that
kickstarts everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
that-
course. You get hired by Blizzard, and it's all like thanks to me. It's like thanks, ZombieGrub.
yeah, an interview from Blizzard after that.
Yeah, but thank you so much for giving your time.
Thank you. I
yeah.
was so happy to do this. Sorry if I was sort of long-winded or went off topic, which I know I did go off topic pretty regularly, but like I said, I do have a lot to say, and I feel very strongly about the things I did talk about. So yeah, just thank you for asking.
Yeah. Actually, I'll go ahead and just press the record button again. There we go. I would time it out perfectly if I could, but unfortunately with the whole
Don't worry.
moving away. But anyways, I just wanted to get this on camera so that you can go ahead and chat yourself, all the things that you do, place to find you.
So go to my YouTube and check out youtube.com/niceyt channel. If you just look at like the most viewed videos, you're bound to get a laugh or two out of there. I've made at least something funny. And then on Twitter, I post pretty frequently. It's nice___ username.
2 underscores.
Yeah, the 1 underscore username got up getting kicked. Not something I want to talk about. And you'll probably find me there and on Reddit, same Reddit/user/nice__ username. If you look at my posts there, I submit to Reddit pretty regularly. And I know a lot of people are sort of like, Reddit, Starcraft sucks, they're rude. And I don't like them. And like there's something to that. But I've put a lot of effort into making Reddit not such a shitty place, and so if you don't cruise it,
I'm gonna ask one more question because I think this is pretty interesting. But you're one of the people that will post memes and funny things, or informational things the balance changes that makes Reddit not just some place that people feel is. You only go there for post-match results. You only go there when you want to discuss how much you hate a caster or love a caster.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually some place that's kind of fun that you want to subscribe to because there's going to be memes. There's gonna be what are your thoughts on? I feel like it's been the last year or so that Starcraft Reddit has become more like that, where you have more memes and funny things, and
it's definitely become more less serious. It's become a lot less serious over the past year.
Is that a good thing? Do you think?
I don't know if it's good or bad. I think we definitely lose some serious people by being so silly all the time. But, Reddit's for entertainment, Like the posts, even the most upvoted post is going to stay around for a day. like you go the next day and it's gone. It could be the most upvoted thing in the world. It's gone because it's a site that's designed, like it's programmed to entertain you. Mm-hmm. And, that's just like fundamentally that's like how it's going to work, and I think that goes at odds with it being like an information resource or some kind of like guide site to learn.
Do you think there's a perfect world where it can be both, or do you think that that's where people should subscribe to the more specific subreddits, like all things?
I mean,
Terran,
the specific subreddits, if you haven't heard, there's all things Zerg, there's all things Protoss, there's all things Terran. These are subreddits where they are focused on improving, and they don't mean like the regular subreddit does, and that's where you want to go to post your replays, etc.
Yeah.
And like those are great communities, they're great. But as far as like, it's really tough to discuss Reddit because, it's so many people. You can't like tell like 20,000 people how to behave or like how they should behave. Yeah. And another thing too with Reddit is like the traffic has really fallen off. So I would depend, like a lot. I would depend on Reddit for like viewership, of course, and like just having some sort of audience there. But, over years and years and years, it's been like 4 or 5 years now, that I can't depend on them in the same, like I still do for, a couple thousand views is the most I can ask for Reddit now. Mm-hmm. But I used to post something like offhand. I spent an hour on it, which is not much. I just sort of did something like haha, look at this, guys, like 30,000 views. It's like 25. And this is going back to like the glory days, like I don't want to go too much, like numbers, blah, blah, Starcraft was bigger, blah, blah, like we've all heard this shit. But that doesn't make it hurt less when I spend 10 hours or 20 hours on a video and it gets 4,000 views when I expected at least a little more, right?
Yeah, but that does seem to be kind of the general gist from a lot of content creators.
Yeah,
I mean, I've heard this from everyone.
I'm sort of branching off topic here,
But it's really hard to say it's a bad thing because I mean, that's like YouTube in general, isn't it? Like you hope you do one dumb thing so that your YouTube does blow up, and then you can go back talking about like animal activism, whatever you do, right?
Yeah.
It's not too different from anything else, but it does feel a little hurtful when your really carefully crafted informational series don't get as much.
It hurts, especially like say my interview series, right? Like I can't tell you how much it sucks to put a bunch of work into some interview and to get 500 views where I'm used to getting 5,000 for half of the effort, like a 10% of the effort. Like I'll be like lol, Nathanius lost to mass century, lol, 10K, like 6K views. Everyone's fucking loving it, like a bunch of comments. And then I'll sit there with Nathanius, same guy, talk to him for an hour and a half, ask him about his life and how he got there. And like people just don't really care that much. So I don't know, like I'm definitely rambling a little bit here and I'm going off topic because I understand that your average viewer, they don't give a shit about the person. They're in for the game, right? Like it's about the game. They care about the game. There's a fine line to walk there.
There is, yeah.
Yeah.
That could take us
anyway,
a whole interview. So
I could, like I said a few times already, like I really could talk on and on about my opinions on like the community and the way they behave and what people make. Yeah. But to answer your original question, like, do I think Reddit could benefit from being lots less silly? Yeah. Okay, and I think Reddit could really benefit from people putting some goddamn effort into their posts. But I think...
Okay, I won't disagree with that.
Honestly, I am just some guy, like I am just some random dude who thinks I should spend more than 5 minutes on a post. Like, I know thousands of people read the website, and I know if I spend 5 more minutes making a post with like... that's formatted properly or has an image link in it instead of just goddamn, like it doesn't take much to look good on Reddit. I'm serious, because the average user is such a lazy, just lazy. People are lazy. So all you have to do to look good is not be lazy, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that kind of does it. So we ended on a passionate note right there. But yeah, thanks again. Follow him on YouTube, Twitter, watch his interviews, and all of his other Mimi stuff. And make sure to watch my stuff too.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Joey. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.